Exposed, the haunting secret of 7 minutes no one dared to save the billionaire's cursed boy. In the sleepy town of Maplewood, rumors spread like wildfire. Whispers echoed in coffee shops and lit up text threads. People held their breath, sharing the wildest tales about Kyle Blackwood, the son of the mysterious tech billionaire. He had vanished for 7 dark minutes, long enough to plunge him deep into a world of shadows and nightmares. Some said he talked to ghosts, others claimed he brought terror wherever he went. Curiosity bubbled, but fear hung thick in the air, stifling any brave souls willing to confront the unholy darkness surrounding him. Enter Maya Anderson, a 17-year-old girl with stars in her eyes and a fierce heart. The predictable life her parents led left her feeling suffocated. She craved more, something vibrant, something electric. When she overheard hushed conversations about Kyle, she couldn't resist the intrigue. Was he really haunted? What horrors lurked in the sprawling Blackwood estate? As most of the town turned away, Maya leaned in closer, her fascination igniting. Then one day, it happened. The Blackwoods announced a reward, plenty of cash for anyone who could help cure Kyle's affliction. A twist of fate sent Maya's heart racing. She rallied her friends Jess, Sasha, and Nate. This was their chance, not just for money but to break free and maybe help someone in need. Each night, as they plotted their brave mission, they dug into the town's lore. What they unearthed was a web of corruption, family scandals, and secrets that could ruin lives. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. On a night ablaze with a full moon, the crowd of stars twinkled above as Maya and her crew crept through the iron-wrought gates of the Blackwood mansion. The air felt thick, charged with anticipation. Each creak of the floorboards echoed in the silence, like a heartbeat mingling with their mounting dread. They arrived at the room where Kyle's nightmares took flight. As they reached for old recordings and dusty diaries, they stumbled upon disturbing truths about the family, a moral compromise that had sown seeds of torment across generations. The shadows grew heavier, and whispers crawled into their minds. With each revelation, tension spiked and excitement surged, but so did the fear. What would it cost to confront these submerged spirits? What if the darkness they sought to unveil swallowed them whole? Just as Maya thought she had found the key to freeing Kyle, the room quaked, and terror materialized. The walls shimmered with malevolent energy, flickers of light revealing the revelation she wished to avoid, a connection she never imagined. Would saving Kyle bring her liberation or destruction? As laughter like a whispering wind drifted through the room, Maya felt her resolve cracking. Standing on the brink of the unknown, she questioned everything. What sacrifices must they now make, and how far would they go to confront the darkness looming over their lives? The cold air thickened, leaving the chilling question lingering: would they emerge whole, or was the true horror just beginning? The air was electric, buzzing with the weight of unspoken fears and uncharted territory. Maya stared at the shimmering walls, her heart racing. Was this the nexus of Kyle's nightmares? She could almost hear him calling out, his voice wrapped in desperation. The laughter echoed again, sharper now, slicing through the tension like a knife. "Maya, what is going on?" Jess exclaimed, her voice barely above a whisper, wide eyes scanning the room. I don't know," Maya confessed, fighting the urge to turn and run. Instead, she took a shaky breath, pushed the doubt aside, and clutched the old diary in her hand, its pages heavy with untold truths. "We need to figure this out. If we're going to help him, we have to understand what's happening here." Nate shifted uneasily, glancing at the door. "Are you sure that's a good idea? I mean, whatever we're messing with, it seems bigger than us." Before she could respond, a sudden chill rushed through the room, causing her skin to prickle. The shadows twisted and danced, drawing closer. The items around them started to rattle, a clock ticking furiously on the wall, its minute hands spinning backwards as though time itself had rewound. Sasha clutched Maya's arm. Something's not right. We need to leave now. But Maya couldn't retreat. This was their chance to face the curse, to break free from the shackles of their mundane lives. If she could just uncover the truth, then, out of the thronging shadows, a figure emerged, a translucent boy, his eyes wide with a mixture of sorrow and rage. Kyle. But he looked different, older, more haunted. You shouldn't be here, he gasped, his voice hushed and urgent. You don't know what you're letting in. Maya stepped forward, compelled by a force she couldn't understand, her heart pounding in her chest. Kyle? We want to help you. We heard about what happened. The 7 minutes. Please tell us what we need to do. He shook his head, a sad smile flickering across his face. It's not that simple. You can't just save me. The darkness here isn't just a part of me, it's tied to our family, to the sins we can't escape. Suddenly, the room darkened, and the whispers turned into a cacophony, reverberating against the walls like tortured souls crying out for mercy. Maya's friends screamed, trying to huddle closer, but the air felt unendurable, pressing down on them. You don't belong here. Kyle cried, desperation evident in his tone. You have to leave. You might make it worse. But Kyle, Maya protested, but he suddenly vanished, thrown back into the shadows as if reality itself had rejected him. Heart racing, Maya felt a cold grip around her throat. The laughter turned into anguished screams, and the whispers rampaged through her mind. Run! Nate shouted, darting toward the door, dragging Jess along with him. Fear clawed at her, urging her to follow, but Maya's feet felt rooted to the floor. She had to know more. If she fled now, they might lose their chance to help Kyle and unearth the dark truths hidden in the Blackwood legacy. As she turned to face the shadows again, a surge of determination coursed through her veins. She couldn't abandon him, not when the stakes were this high. But as she leaned in closer, a cold realization flickered to life. What if freeing Kyle meant confronting something far worse than they could ever imagine? With every beat of her heart, the decision weighed upon her. One path led to escape, the other to unknown horrors intertwined with their own fates. What sacrifices would she be forced to make? Then, just as she decided to stay, the room bucked violently, as if the estate itself was angry with her choice. An old portrait fell from the wall, shattering its glass, scattering like lost hopes around them. The air shrieked, thickening with dread, and Maya felt her pulse quicken. What if the darkness wanted them all along? As the boundaries of reality blurred into chaos, the question loomed larger than ever: what was lurking in the depths of the Blackwood estate, and how would they confront the fate that beckoned? The moment the portrait shattered, shockwaves rippled through the room. The laughter receded, replaced by a deep, throbbing silence that felt alive. Maya's heart pounded like a drum, drowning out the sound of her racing thoughts. The shards of glass caught the dim light, glittering strangely, eerily beautiful against the backdrop of dread. Maya! Jess shouted, pulling on her arm. We have to go. But Maya stood frozen, her breath caught in her throat. The chilling realization clung to her: this was just the beginning of whatever nightmare lay ahead. She glanced back at the door, but Nate and Sasha had already fled, leaving echoes of fear in their wake. In that moment, she felt utterly alone, confronting a darkness that had no boundaries. Please, Kyle. She called out, her voice trembling, echoing off the walls. I need to understand. Where are you? Deep shadows twisted and writhed as though something was awakening, hungry for her fear. Suddenly, the whispers morphed into a cacophony of tortured screams, resonating in a discordant harmony that pounded against her ears. Maya winced, trying to focus amid the relentless noise, but her resolve wavered. As the shadows thickened, her instincts told her to run. The weight of uncertainty pressed down on her, but the thought of abandoning Kyle hollowed her. What kind of friend would she be if she turned her back now? Maya forced herself to breathe, searching for any sign of Kyle, wanting desperately to see those haunting eyes again. In the stale air, the scent of old wood and decay hung thick, yet beneath it, she sensed something else, a hint of desperation, a promise of answers. Then, out of the corner of her eye, she spotted a flicker, an outline barely visible, almost transparent. It was Kyle, reappearing, anguish etched across his features. "You shouldn't be here," he cried, but there was a stark awareness in his eyes, a knowing that rooted Maya in place. "Kyle, please," she shouted again, desperation creeping into her voice. "We can help you. We just need to know what we're up against." Firelit shadows barely coalesced into form, revealing a vision of what once was an opulent room, a family gathered around a table, joy radiating from their faces. It was a haunting juxtaposition against the pain surrounding them now. "They don't know. They never knew," Kyle cried, anguish tearing through him. "It's all connected. The sin, the guilt. You can't erase it with noble intentions." Maya felt a shiver crawl down her spine as she gazed at the vision morphing into chaos. Shouts intensified, the family's joy brutally transformed into arguments, accusations. The room pulsated with anger, regret hanging thick in the air. "Is this the truth?" Maya murmured, stepping closer. Images flickered like a late-night movie, each scene more horrific than the last. "Is this what bound you?" "Yes." The darkness, Kyle's voice trembled with each word. "It feeds on it. It uses our pain against us." Suddenly, the shadows crackled, closing in around her like a tightening noose. Maya felt a hand clench around her throat again, cold and unyielding. She gasped, fighting for breath, her vision blurring. "Maya." Jess's voice broke through the haze, a spark of hope amidst the chaos. "Get out. We can't stay here." Maya's heart raced. She couldn't leave Kyle, but time was running out. Each heartbeat felt like a countdown, the walls closing in. She had to make a choice, and it had to be made now. Cold dread clutched her heart as she glanced at Kyle's desperate visage. She had come to rescue him, yet she risked dragging herself deeper into the abyss. What would it take to save him? In that moment, she felt the inevitable pull of despair, and from the darkness, whispered echoes blended with the panicked cries of her friends. How could they fight something so woven into their lives? Just then, Kyle's expression flickered with determination, urgency etched into his features. "You have to find it. The truth. Only then can you hope to break the cycle. You must confront what lies beyond the door." Maya's stomach churned with unease. What door? What awaited her on the other side? Each second stretched, the room swirling into a maelstrom of shadows and her resolve. She realized this was merely an invitation to plunge headfirst into the lair of her fears. As the darkness surged forward, she knew she had to decide: follow the truth Kyle had hinted at, or flee with her friends into uncertain safety. The chilling question spiraled in her mind: what lay beyond the door, and could she ever escape the Blackwood legacy? In the depths of the chaos, Maya could only hope she would find the strength needed to confront what truly haunted the estate. But as the shadows lunged closer, she couldn't shake the sense that something unseen was waiting for her, a hidden terror lying in wait. Maya's heart raced as the cold shadows crashed against her mind, warping the reality around her. The darkness pulsated, alive and unwavering, vying for her attention. She fought the increasing grip constricting her throat, squeezing out her breath and courage. Mustering every ounce of will, she locked eyes with Kyle. "You have to trust me," she pleaded, casting a desperate glance toward Jess, who was still trying to pull her away. "We can uncover your truth together. We can end this." Time stuttered, thickening like the gloom around her. Maya felt agonizing tension grapple for control of the moment, each breath becoming a battle. The whispers raged, clamoring desperately, their distorted voices twisted into a terrifying cacophony. Then, a sudden shift: the room fell silent for just a heartbeat, almost as if the shadows were holding their breath. Then, a thunderous crash erupted behind her. The wall where the shattered portrait had hung splintered, revealing a hidden alcove shrouded in deeper darkness. Something felt wrong. They had unearthed a terrible secret. The air crackled with unspoken potential, electricity tingling against her skin. "Go!" shouted Jess, panic clawing at her voice. "Before it's too late." Maya hesitated, torn between the person she cared for most and the looming threat of danger. The instinct to pull back surged through her once more, but something inside her screamed for action. She stepped toward the darkened entrance of the alcove. "Do you see that light?" Kyle gestured weakly toward the depths of the alcove. "It's a beacon, a chance to escape this." With each small step forward, the shadows seemed to recoil, taking a hesitant breath, as if sensing her determination. But the deeper she moved, the more chaotic the world outside felt. She could hear the frantic thuds of Jess and panic-laden yells as the others clawed at the doorway, fighting to keep their fearful hearts protected. "What if I can't come back?" Maya whispered, a crack of fear creeping into her resolve. The truth wrapped around her heart like barbed wire. She would be leaving everything behind. "Run!" Kyle urged, his voice alive with passion. "You will have the power to change it. You have to confront it." Suddenly, the shadows surged forward, a wave of oppressive energy trying to drag her back. Panic ignited in her chest. They were fighting to hold her within their grasp. With a burst of adrenaline, she had to decide stay or leap into the unknown. Swallowing hard, she drew a deep breath and sprinted toward the alcove, ignoring the screaming shadows clamoring to pull her away. In one timeless moment, she plunged into the darkness. Inside, a gust of icy wind greeted her, swirling around her like whispers clawing at her clothes. The light flickered, revealing an old wooden door at the end, weathered and half open, inviting her in like an apparition. A sense of foreboding washed over her, but curiosity spurred her forward. As she approached, the door creaked open further, revealing an unkempt room filled with dusty relics from a time long since abandoned. Photos hung askew on the walls, capturing joyous moments mirroring the vision she had seen. Yet among the memories, a darker presence loomed, palpable and tangible in the stale air. She stepped over the threshold, heart racing as her instinct screamed something unspeakable lingered here, a secret hidden beneath the weight of time. What lay ahead could reveal the anguish Kyle was trapped within or send her spiraling into chaos. Above all, the sense of urgency lingered, gripping her throat once again. What truth awaited her behind this door, and would she find the courage to face it? She could feel the shadows encroaching, their darkness stretching, eager to consume her whole. As the lights flickered and dimmed, she took a step further, but just beyond the door, the ground lurked beneath her, haunting questions spiraled, and the darkness whispered conspiracies, chilling her very bones. Was she meant to uncover Kyle's fate, or would she too become another echo in the estate's haunting legacy? As Maya crossed the threshold, the air thickened, a fetid mix of the past and present swirling around her. The light dimmed, and shadows cast strange shapes on the walls, flickering like the memories trapped within them. Her breath caught, a fearful lump lodged in her throat. In the center of the room stood a wooden table, scarred and stained as if it had witnessed countless horrors. Framed photographs covered the walls, but instead of cheerful smiles, each face bore an air of sorrow and despair. As she stepped closer, a chill ran down her spine. The eyes of the people in the pictures seemed to follow her, a silent judgment echoing from their captured moments. What had happened here? Maya Kyle's distant voice echoed in her mind, pushing her deeper into the oppressive atmosphere. She reached for a dusty frame, wiping away years of neglect to reveal a portrait of a woman whose eyes mirrored her own. Could this be my family? She gasped, her heart racing. But before she could fully process, a sharp crash echoed from behind her. The door slammed shut, plunging the room into darkness, save for the soft glow of flickering lights. Panic jolted through her, she could feel the shadows pressing close, breathing down her neck. "No. Not now." She whispered, fear crawling into her chest like spiders. Desperate to understand, she explored the room, her fingers gliding over the surfaces, grazing against ancient books' titles, long forgotten whispered stories of loss and despair. As she thumbed through a brittle journal, something glimmered in the corner of the table, half buried under a thick layer of dust. She leaned closer, the faint light illuminating a tarnished key. Its intricate design felt oddly familiar, a sense of déjà vu rushing through her. "What are you hiding?" she muttered, aware the shadows were growing restless, angry at her intrusion. Before she could consider her next move, a sudden gasp cut through the silence of the room. She whipped around, but no one was there. Shadows flickered, mocking her. "Hello?" she called hesitantly, the sound echoing back with a heavy undertone. "Maya," the voice returned, laced with urgency. "You shouldn't be here." Her heart hammered against her ribcage. "Who's there?" An unseen force tugged at the edges of her consciousness, memories she didn't recognize threatening to unravel. "Get out before they find you," the voice warned again, cracking with fear. It echoed into silence, leaving her in a suffocating stillness that felt alive. Suddenly, the wall beside her shuddered, as if the hidden memories and regrets were shifting, ready to expose their secrets. The dim light flickered violently, revealing brief flashes of images, moments of betrayal, hurried conversations, frightened children. Maya covered her mouth, trembling. Who had fallen victim here? Gripping the key tightly, she felt an overwhelming urge to escape. The shadows loomed closer, frantic whispers growing louder, urging her to abandon whatever she had found. Despite the dread coursing through her veins, something else flickered, an ember of resolve igniting within her. "Wait!" she yelled into the dark. "I'm not leaving until I know the truth." But as the last word slipped from her lips, the temperature dropped, and a maniacal laugh resonated through the space. The noise was chilling, louder than the shadows' whispers, vibrating against her bones. Was that laughter real, or just another intimidation tactic? "Maya!" Another voice screamed from beyond the door. It was Jess, but she sounded far away, the panic blending with the now ominous laughter. "You have to come back." The ground beneath her trembled as the walls closed in, her insides churning with turmoil. What did this all mean? Was Kyle connected to this nightmare? The key felt heavier in her hand, demanding to be used. Was it the answer to the chaos, or a trap meant to ensnare her? With a rush of determination coursing through her, she lunged for the heavy door, willing it to open and confront whatever awaited her on the other side, but the laughter persisted, and as the shadows thickened, she realized they were closer than ever. What awaited her as she pushed towards the voice of her friend or the heart of the mystery? Would she unlock the truth, or had she ignited a darkness too great to conquer? Maya slammed her shoulder against the door, expecting it to give under her weight, but it held firm. Panic clawed at her throat as the oppressive laughter echoed through the room, mocking her efforts. Jess's voice felt like a lifeline slipping away. "Jess," she cried, but the darkness swallowed her words whole. With every passing second, the room felt more alive, its walls pulsing with an unseen energy. Shadows slithered closer, wrapping around her legs like chains, holding her back from the truth she desperately sought. If this was a nightmare, she was resolved to wake up in the light of reality, not suffocate in the dark. Taking a deep breath, she clutched the key, feeling its contours press against her palm, an anchor in the tempest of uncertainty. It was time to make a choice. With a ferocity born from desperation, she turned back to the table and the remnants of broken memories scattered around it. Maya, the disembodied voice floated closer, a cool breeze brushing against her cheek. "You have to go." "No!" she shouted, spinning toward the sound. "Why can't you just tell me what is going on?" The room pulsed again, and for a moment, the shadows pulled back, revealing the glimmer of something shiny nestled in the corner. It was the locked box, ornate and imposing, its surface marred but still magnificent. The key was alive in her hand now, its significance sharpening her focus. As she approached the box, the laughter turned to frantic whispers, stringing together words that tangled like barbed wire in her mind. Don't let them see you." Her heart raced. The secrets inside this box, could they unlock the truth she yearned for? Gathering her courage, she knelt down and inserted the key into the rusty lock. The mechanism clicked loudly, the sound shattering the silence like crystal breaking. Then, with a shuddering breath, she twisted the key. The lid creaked open, enough to fill the room with a wail of anger. Inside lay a collection of letters, their edges worn, ink faded into whispers of the past. Maya froze, unable to breathe as the first letter fluttered to the top. It was addressed to her. Maya, it called her name like a siren, pulling at her heart. Before she could process the implications, the room darkened, shadows closing around her once more. No! She gasped, retreating against the table. The familiar laughter returned, louder and more frenzied, sending waves of terror coursing through her. The voices grew more passionate, a cacophony demanding attention, threatening to pull her under. Maya! We're running out of time. Jess's voice pierced through the chaos like a beacon. Maya gripped the key and the letters, torn between staying to uncover the tangled web of family secrets and fleeing into the unknown. The pull of the truth was overwhelming, but at what cost? Mustering every ounce of strength, she dug her heels into the ground, her pulse racing as the shadows flared brighter. I will know, she declared, echoing back the tether of pain and determination she felt coursing through her. With one last surge of courage, she raised the letters high. Show me, she commanded into the swirling darkness. The laughter faltered, the walls trembling with a violent shudder. A blinding flash erupted from the box, illuminating the room and stealing her breath. Maya felt herself drawn into the light, where memories and shadows collided, fighting for dominance over her fate. As the illumination dimmed, she was left standing at the precipice of revelation, the letters whispering secrets in a language as old as time. What awaited her in that luminous haze? Was it redemption, or an echo of horrors past? With a voice barely above a whisper, she called out to the shadows. What are you trying to tell me? And then, just as suddenly as it began, everything went dark again, plunging her into chilling silence, a silence that promised something ominous lay ahead. Could she truly confront the darkness lurking within her family's history, or was she already too late? Answers were no longer a wish, they were an imperative. The weight of the truth pressed down on her as she prepared to face whatever would uncover itself next. She could feel the shadows nibbling at the edges of her sanity, a darkness materializing with every heartbeat. What other truths would emerge if she dared to ask more? The darkness throbbed around Maya, an oppressive shroud that seemed to mock her resolve. She barely had a moment to gather her breath before the first whisper snaked through the silence, curling around her like smoke. Maya, you're here for a reason. She squinted, straining to see through the swirling shadows as they danced across the walls like phantoms. The laughter had melted into something colder, more sinister, and every fiber of her being screamed for her to flee. Yet, she was rooted to the spot, heart pounding like a drum against her ribs. The letters scattered across the table beckoned her. Could they offer the truth she craved? With trembling hands, she reached for the topmost letter. The faded ink felt fragile against her fingertips, as if it were a relic from another realm entirely. She unfolded it slowly, the sound crackling like dry leaves. Maya, if you're reading this, then I have failed. The words danced in her mind, warping with emotion. She squinted at the name at the end. It was her mother's, written in an elegant script that now felt foreign. What did you fail to protect? She murmured, the weight of the letter pressing down on her consciousness. Suddenly, the shadows shifted, swirling around her, tightening like a vice. Don't listen to her. Don't believe her. The angry chorus screamed, the voices overlapping in a symphony of dread. Maya felt a chill race down her spine. What do you mean? She shouted into the dark, each word echoing with urgency. The letters trembled in her hold, a pulse that synced with the rhythm of her heart. Wild and desperate, the room responded with a sudden escalation of chaos. The walls quaked, and the air crackled as though a storm was forming. She lies. All is not what it seems. The disembodied voices hissed, sharper than knives, cutting through the remnants of her courage. Stepping back, Maya clutched the key tighter. Her mother had never spoken about her past, about the shadows that loomed over their family. What secrets had she buried so deep that the very walls of this cursed room now trembled in fear? With every flicker of light, she could almost see shapes behind the shadows, figures lost to time or trapped in some dreadful limbo. She had to know. But the threat of what might be unveiled gnawed at her. Maya. The last letter. Jess's voice sliced through the storm, grounding her as it rang with urgency. You have to read it. Find the truth. Gathering her resolve, Maya rifled through the letters, each one a ghost of a memory. Her hand found another, its edges rough to the touch. She opened it quickly, her breath stalled as she read. Every moment you face reveals pieces of the past. Truth breeds freedom, but the price to pay is steep. The last sentence brought everything to a halt. Freedom? A steep price? What does that mean? She yelled, feeling the weight of every moment pushing toward an explosion. The shadows roared in response, a cacophony of sound and fury, as if warning her to stop. The laughter returned, but now it was tinged with a mournful echo. A figure emerged at the edge of the light, half-formed, drifted closer. It was her mother, or at least a semblance of her. Maya, do not seek the shadows, the spectre warned, her voice a mere breath, yet Maya couldn't back down. Why should I trust you? She shouted over the rising tide of noise. You're the one who hid everything. With a quick, potent rush, the last echoes of laughter cut off, swallowed by desperation. The spectre's eyes were pleading now, shadows darting behind her, bolstering the rising tension. There are consequences for what you uncover, daughter. Remember that. As her mother's warning hung thick in the air, Maya felt the ground beneath her shift. What was hidden in those memories? What had been covered up for so long? With the room spinning, Maya screamed one last time, I need to know. Show me. Light exploded from the box once again, casting away the shadows like a veil torn apart. In that moment, she felt the truth crash against her, a wave threatening to engulf her. Whatever lay ahead, it had the power to change everything, but was she truly prepared for it? What awaited her in the revelations to come? As the light flickered and faded, only one thing was certain: this was just the beginning. The light pulsed and faded, leaving Maya breathless and disoriented. The shadows writhed like wounded serpents, restless and hungry for her fear. The room felt charged, as if the very air buzzed with untold stories. She clutched the letter in her hand, the ink tinged with a sense of danger. This was no ordinary letter, it was an invitation to uncover dark truths about her heritage. As the remnants of illumination slipped away, Maya sensed a weight pressing down on her chest. Those whispers returned, a low, relentless chorus that clawed at her sanity. You can't escape the past, Maya. It will consume you. Stop it. She screamed, her voice cracking with desperation. I can handle it. I want to know. The echo of her words ricocheted off the cold stone walls, amplifying her own turmoil. Can you? The specter of her mother retorted, a flicker of doubt in those haunting eyes. What you seek is not merely knowledge, but challenges that few have survived. The shadows conceal terrible secrets. Maya felt her heart race. Deep down, she understood there was truth in her mother's warning, yet the need for clarity burned brighter than her fear. Tell me where to start. With a reluctant sigh, the specter gestured toward a hidden corner of the room, nearer to the pile of letters that loomed like sentinels. Each one felt like a door into a different past, but one letter stood out. It quivered, pulsing with anticipation as if it wanted to be chosen. She hesitated, a storm of doubt raging in her mind. What if opening this letter unleashed chaos she couldn't control? But curiosity tangled with fear, and her hand reached out, extracting it from the heap. Open it, her mother murmured, the ethereal glow around her flickering with urgency. As she unfolded the letter, the air shifted, electric and suffocating. The words leapt from the paper, spinning a story of anguish and regret, a family torn apart by betrayal. It felt personal, a weight settling in her gut. My dearest Maya, it began, the truth is buried somewhere between loyalty and betrayal. Your lineage carries a curse not of blood, but of choices that echo through generations. Her fingers shook, eyes darting between the words. A curse? What choice had her family made that could haunt them so deeply? The shadows bristled at her sides, swirling dangerously as if aware of her budding comprehension. The shadows want you to succumb to fear, to turn away. But you must remember, facing the darkness will grant you the strength to break its hold. The letter continued. In that moment, she felt a surge of defiance. Breaking the curse seemed like an impossible task, but there was a flicker of hope in the words that urged her on. What do I need to do? She cried, wishing for the guidance she so desperately sought. The spectre's expression softened, empathy breaking through her ethereal form. The truth lies in a place you already know. Return to where it all began, the abandoned house at Elm and Fifth. The shadows began to writhe violently, drowning out her mother's words. No. Don't go there. The darkness is waiting for you. The cacophony of voices thickened, drowning Maya in a tempest of fear and foreboding, yet, she felt undeniable conviction stirring within her. I have to, she whispered, almost to herself. The abandoned house was more than a place, it was a key, a fragment of her past that might hold the pieces to a puzzle long unsolved. As she steadied her breath and readied herself for the journey ahead, the darkness recoiled, the grip on her loosening ever so slightly, as if the whispering venom felt the threat of her resolve. Maya took a step toward the door, her heart thrumming wildly. Would she find answers, or would the truth drag her into a pit deeper than she could imagine? As she crossed the threshold, the shadows whispered one final time, "You've awakened it now." The room darkened behind her, but ahead lay the faintest glimmer of light. What awaited her at the house on Elm and Fifth? Would she unearth remnants of the past, or would the shadows consume her whole? The question lingered in the air, filled with anticipation. Whatever happened next might just be the leap into an abyss she could never return from. Maya pushed the door open, its ancient wood creaking under her weight as if protesting against the intrusion. The air outside was thick with the scent of damp earth, an unsettling calm wrapping her in a deceptive embrace. Elm and Fifth, she had played on this street as a child but had never felt its foreboding presence like now. Each step toward the house felt like walking through molasses, her heart pounding in sync with the whispers at her back. Shadows darted in her periphery, taunting and beckoning her to turn around. What are you afraid of? Just a hungry ghost, an unkind voice sneered. But she clenched her fists, summer breeze mingling with cold dread. She needed to know. She was almost at the house, an enormous structure that had once been vibrant. Now, it loomed like a grim sentry, its broken windows like eyes staring blankly into the void. Why did you come back? The whisper slithered through the air, a chilling reminder of the decision she was determined to confront. Ignoring it, she climbed the front steps and pushed the door unlocked, as if inviting her in. Dust motes danced like tiny spirits in the shaft of light from the hall beyond. As she stepped inside, the atmosphere shifted. The air felt denser, and every footfall echoed as if announcing her arrival to whatever lingered there. The walls were lined with memories, peeling wallpaper that barely concealed the tales of joy and despair. She moved through the hallway, the old floorboards creaking under her weight, each sound amplifying her anxiety, but then, it happened. Just as she reached the parlor, a sudden gust of wind slammed the door shut behind her. The house exhaled, and a cold shiver raced up her spine. Maya's eyes darted around, searching for the source of this new disquiet. Is someone there? She called out, her voice trembling slightly. No answer except the soft murmur of the wind, as if the house itself was cautioning her against the secrets it kept hidden. She forced herself to take a step forward. The parlor was strewn with the remnants of a life long forgotten. An ornate chair tipped to one side, its fabric faded and torn, sat next to a fireplace filled with ashes long cooled. Fragments of memories embedded in every corner felt like eyes, watching her, judging her. Maya, a whisper floated in the air, chilling her blood. It sounded like her name, cloaked in grief. She turned abruptly, her breath hitching. "Who's there?" In the silence that followed, guilt twisted in her stomach, amplifying the urgency of her quest. She came to learn the truth. She didn't have time for fear. Maya approached the fireplace as if guided by an unseen force. Beneath the mantel, she noticed something glinting, a locket partially buried in the loose mortar. With trembling fingers, she pried it out. It was small and ornate, the surface etched with delicate designs. As she opened it, a rush of warmth pulsed through her, but she couldn't shake the feeling of dread. Inside, there were two tiny photographs, one of her mother as a girl and another of a man she didn't recognize. A knot formed in her throat. "Who are you?" she breathed, glancing around as if expecting an answer from the shadows. Suddenly, another whisper surged through the room, louder now, insistent. "Find the truth, Maya. It's the only way." Shadows pooled at her feet, drawing her gaze to the floorboards as they shifted ominously. Instinctively, she dropped to her knees, scraping dust with her fingers. The wood beneath felt strangely warm. There was a loose board, one that seemed to beckon her. With a deep breath, she yanked it up. A compartment. Inside, nestled against the dirt, was a leather-bound journal. Its cover bore her family crest. Her heart raced as she lifted it to her chest. What secrets did this journal hold? With the shadows pressing in, she hesitated only for a moment before flipping open its pages. The words sprawled across the yellowed paper, and her pulse quickened. "Secrets can bind us or set us free," it began. "We are the curse, and the curse is us." Maya's breath caught. With that declaration rang an ancient reality she was not yet ready to face. Every instinct screamed for her to run, but she felt anchored, her hand frozen on the parchment, knowing she had to know what came next. What kind of truth awaited her? The shadows thickened, churning as if in response to her inevitability. But could she handle whatever darkness this journal would unveil? The whispers clawed at her again. "You've awakened it. Now you must pay the price." Her courage swelled, but so did the weight of the unknown. What sacrifices would she need to make to uncover her family's truth? Maya stared into the darkness, her fate intertwined with the shadows. With resolve, she took a deep breath and committed to the journey ahead. What revelations awaited her in the pages of the journal? Would they lead to liberation or further despair? The question loomed, hanging heavy in the thick, charged air. Maya's heart raced as she felt the journal's worn leather against her fingertips. Each letter breathed life into the oppressive atmosphere surrounding her. The shadows stirred, almost impatient, as if urging her to dive deeper into their depths, to accept their invitation and uncover her family's fractured secrets. She flipped to the next page, the paper crinkling softly. The words seemed to pulse with ancient energy. "Our history is intertwined with darkness, a pact made in desperation, a sacrifice of trust." A profound chill wrapped around her, twisting her stomach into knots. "What did you do?" she whispered, staring at the ink that held power over her destiny. "What pact?" Tremors rattled through her as the truth began to flow like a river, cascading into the void, pulling her deeper into a past she wished to escape. "Betrayal ran wild in our blood. The choices of our forebears taint our every action," the letter continued. "And now, every choice you make weaves the fabric of our fate anew." "Choices," Maya murmured, the echoes of her family legacy filtering through her mind. She lifted her gaze, and for a brief moment, the darkness receded, the air shifting like the calm before a storm. But a sudden rush of shadows surged, an angry tide crashing against the newfound clarity. The laughter erupted again, the cruel reminder that the shadows were always there, lurking just beyond the fold of her understanding. She pressed on, ignoring the suffocating weight of apprehension squeezing her chest. Flipping through the pages, she uncovered a series of letters detailing the bitter rivalry within her family. "Through greed, we sealed our fates, only by facing the past can we hope to redeem ourselves." A vision pierced through her consciousness, her mother standing in anguish, the resolve in her gaze promising that something was worth protecting. But what had her mother sacrificed? And deep down, could this be the legacy she inherited? A cycle repeating itself, ad infinitum? Free yourself, and in turn, free us. Echoes of the whispers now culled into one desperate voice spoke from the darkened corners of the room. That surge of hope ignited a flicker of defiance within her. She knew she was the key, the bridge between the past and future. With a newfound clarity, Maya skimmed toward the end of the journal, skimming through entries until one caught her breath. To confront the darkness is to face the dawn. Find the source of the pact. The mention of confrontation sparked urgency in her veins. The dawn? She pondered. She thought back to the abandoned house, to the very place where everything began, the front yard where her family once flourished, the trees stretching like souls reaching for heaven. What had that place hidden from her? No more running, Maya declared, resolve pooling into determination. She tucked the fragile journal into her bag and steadied herself. I will break this cycle. As she turned to leave, shadows leaped in protest, twisting with fury, their wrath snapping like thunder. No! A voice thundered, the sound vibrating through her bones. Maya dashed toward the door, wrenched it open, and slipped into the brightness outside. The air tasted crisp, and though fear still nipped at her heels, it felt lighter than before. She was no longer just a dreamer, she was a fighter, someone who could change the course of history, her family's history. The sun dipped low on the horizon, casting rich hues of gold and violet across the sky. She could feel the presence of those who had come before her, their whispers merging into promises. She wasn't sure what awaited her at the house on Elm and Fifth, but she heard Jess and Nate's concerned voices calling her back to reality. Maya. Jess's voice came through the darkness. What happened in there? It's time, Maya replied, her voice steady with resolve. It's time we learned the truth and ended this curse. Together. In one final breath of determination, she flicked her eyes to the sky, the stars emerging like tiny beacons of hope. The past was heavy, but the dawn was breaking, and she knew, with unwavering certainty, that she would emerge from the shadows. The chains of the Blackwood legacy were ready to be shattered. As the night settled in around them, Maya looked at her friends, their faces reflecting the mixture of fear and hope swirling in her own heart. They had come together to rescue Kyle, but what they were about to undertake was something beyond any of their envisioning. Let us go home, she whispered, the weight of her decision anchoring her, but it wasn't just a journey home, it was a leap toward redemption. Together, they would uncover the truth, rewrite their fates, and bless the shadows with the light of their courage. And in that moment, standing against the night, Maya felt an overwhelming rush of connection to those who had once stood where she stood, battling their own specters. They had faced the shadows. Now it was her turn to face the dawn. As Maya clasped her friend's hands tightly, hope coursed through her veins. They would break the curse. They would bring light into the darkness. This was only the beginning. If you've enjoyed this tense ride into shadows and light, now is the moment to act. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next incredible stories that await. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm, and let's keep these stories coming. And remember, flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about the ending. Was this a revelation or just the start of a deeper mystery? Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this electrifying conclusion. True fans like you know how important your support is for the channel. Let's make this journey unforgettable together.